Welcome to this special edition of the hashtag Let's Get Louder podcast. I am your host, Chase Blake, and this is hashtag Let's Get Louder. Special regarding the championship series. A few days ago, I started a recording, but at the end of it, I wasn't really happy because I couldn't really discuss who was going where because the championship series weren't complete yet. However, now they are. So the American League Championship Series is set. The Cleveland Guardians get past their division rival Detroit Tigers, while the Metropolitans of New York also are in the championship series versus the Dodgers. The Padres, who I had picked in the National League, could not get through the big brother Dodgers. The Dodgers win again. It's crazy to me that the Padres legit had two chances to shut down this series. They won one game one in Los Angeles. They lost game two. They lost game one in Los Angeles. Destroyed the Los Angeles Dodgers in game two, went back to San Diego, won game three. They had the opportunity to win game four and five, but they put up 0 runs, and I think 24 innings did the Padres. Because of that, going cold at the worst possible time. Everybody went cold. Again, at the worst possible time. The Dodgers blank the Padres in the final two games and move on to host the New York Mets. The Yankees, of course, the New York Yankees beat the Kansas City Royals, uh, winning game one in New York, losing game two in New York, and then going to Kansas City, Missouri, and beat the Royals in games three and four. Royals did not win a home game in that series, and they got blanked. Not blanked on runs, but they shut out at home for the most part. Giancarlo Stanton, former Marlin. Let's bring it back to the podcast, right? Former Marlin, Giancarlo Stanton, Mike Stanton, whatever you want to call him, ended up with a big game three, a monster dong home run, also an RBI. Really single handedly won that game as the rest of the Yankees are cold, and we'll get into that. And then the Yankees just have a great pitching game in game four and win. So, Guardians knock off the Tigers, face the Yankees in New York. The Metropolitans beat the Phillies. So happy about that. Mets beat the Phillies and will now travel to the Dodgers, who beat the Padres. And that's what is on this episode. What an introduction, a 3-minute introduction to this podcast. Again, I am your host, Chase Blake. This is the hashtag Let's Get Louder LMX podcast. And this podcast is brought to you by me, of course, one of my sponsors, probably the only sponsor I currently have. So if you are listening and you want to get your name shout out, please let me know. But we are sponsored by InTheClutch.com. Go to InTheClutch.com right now. Look at t-shirts. If you're a Dodger fan, if you're a Yankee fan, if you are a Guardian fan, or a Met fan, go right now to InTheClutch.com. InTheClutch.com. Look at all the t-shirts. These are Major League Baseball Players Association approved shirts. These are not MLB shirts, so you're not going to see the team names, but you will see the cities and the players represented in their colors. They're really awesome shirts. They are also the only apparel line that has the official hashtag Let's Get Louder shirts. You see the logo of this podcast. They created it with me, and you can get that on a t-shirt. It's pretty cool. How can I give back to you? Well, if you do go to intheclutch.com and use code LMF, Loud Miami fan, LMF at checkout, you will save 10 to 12%, I believe, as a thank you from intheclutch.com and myself. And thank you to them for sponsoring from day one, pre-podcast sponsors, intheclutch.com. So let's talk about the National League Championship Series first. And again, I'm going to say, if you haven't heard it from me before, I am not a Met fan. If you listen to the two previous podcasts during the series, I was 100% cheering for the Mets. Because when you put teams together, division rivals together, you make decisions. And really, as a fan of baseball, I have to make it interesting in my mind. So I have to pick a team to cheer for, or else I'm just watching baseball. I don't drink anymore. And if you just focus on baseball and have nothing into it, well, then it's just like watching TV, something with sound on in the background just to get through the day. So I have to invest my personality, get emotional somehow, pick a team, and cheer for them. At the beginning of the playoffs, if you follow me on X or Twitter, you'll see that Orioles. Orioles were my team. Yankees are second. I had the Padres winning the National League. I was wrong. Padres did not make it to the World Series as they just got bounced last night. But the Philadelphia Mets series, I had to pick a team. I hate them both, but who do I hate worse? In this case, it was the Philadelphia Phillies that I just can't ever cheer for. You know, my dad, my family are Philly fans. My dad, my stepmother, my stepbrother, my whole family on my dad's side still lives in Philadelphia or just outside of Philadelphia. I'm a lone wolf sheep down here as a Marlin fan. So they want me to cheer for the Phillies. I won't do it. I'm not a Philly fan. And in fact, I hate Philly. I hate it not because the city's not beautiful. If you get the chance, it's very historic. A lot of United States history happened in Philadelphia. The Continental Congress met in Philadelphia. The Declaration of Independence was signed, I believe, in Philadelphia. And they have the Liberty Bell. They actually have the old congressional building. The Continental Congress building is in Philadelphia. I recommend going to see it, right? American history. America is a great country. Doesn't have to be again. It already is. With that being said, back to baseball. I just hate the Philly fans. I hate everything about the Philadelphia Phillies. I just hate. I'm not angry, bitter Marlins fan because the Marlins don't spend money. It has nothing to do with wins and losses. It's the players. It's the atmosphere. It's the Red October. It's that's the right word, the atmosphere of that place. I've been to Citizens Bank Ballpark 3 times total, 2 trips, 3 games. 2 in 2010. I believe it was 2010. It was either 10 or 11. Actually, 2009. Scratch that. First time I ever went to Philadelphia was 2009 to see the Marlins play the Phillies. It was a game between Roy Halladay and Josh Johnson. It was a week after the perfect game that was thrown in Miami by Roy Halladay, and it was the remake or the rematch, I should say, between the two. Marlins won the game, the second one. No hitters, but Josh Johnson had a good game. With that being said, fans of Philadelphia threw peanuts at me, and I know you're saying, "Oh, well, you're lucky it's not batteries." That's just how they do. They're Philly fans. They throw stuff at Santa Claus. They hit people. They hate other teams. Well, you know what? I traveled to other stadiums in my Marlins gear. Remember that. I've traveled to Chicago, Anaheim, both Chicago stadiums. I've traveled to New York, Washington, D.C. for Mets and division rival Nationals. I've been to multiple other stadiums in my Marlins gear, in my headdress, in just the way I am. I am who I am. I'm a loud Miami fan, damn it. I'm LMF. And I wear my gear. And you know what? I will never cheer against your team when I'm traveling to see your team. But when my team hits a home run or my team does something good, I'm going to clap in your home. And Philadelphia fans threw popcorn and peanuts at me. And ever since 2009, I've hated Philadelphia Phillies more than I disliked them. So I could dislike the Mets, right? But I could dislike Philadelphia. But who do I dislike more? It's definitely the Phillies and their players who were so excited to get the bye week. And all last year, 2023 and 2022, when the Braves got knocked out by the Phillies after getting a break because they won the National League East, Philly fans tore the Braves apart. The players tore the Braves apart last year. And there's a rivalry there. I can agree to that. But in this rivalry, this year, Philadelphia said they're happy. In the interviews pre-NLDS, they said they're happy to have the break. They needed it to rest their bodies. They're just going to turn it on. And they didn't turn it on. And that's the beauty of it, because the fans who talked all that crap to Braves fans, they now understand that the break doesn't help you. And I hate the baseball rules. I have a way around having a break. If you have 3 wild card teams, the 5 and 6 seeds play on Monday, no matter who has the 5 and 6 seed. You play at the 5th seed home. So fans of the 5th seed get a home game. It's like a 1-game elimination like they used to have a couple years ago. So you have that one game. Then the Tuesday, you have the next game, which will then be the winner of the 5-6 seed goes and plays the 4th seed at a home game. Remember, 3 wild cards, 4, 5, 6. And whoever wins that game then will face the number 1 seed. While that's going on, remember, we're at Tuesday because Monday is the first wild card game if this happened. Tuesday is the second wild card game. Then Wednesday, you can have the 3 teams starting in seed-wise, right? So again, 4, 5, 6, 5 and 6 play Monday. 4 and the winner of that plays Tuesday. Wednesday, you start the next division series, or the first division series of the 2 seed versus the 3 seed. 2 seed gets the home field advantage in the best of 5. And that starts on Wednesday. That way, Thursday, you can start the next series. So the wild card team versus the top seed. So in this case, it would have been let's say the Mets won. It would have been the Mets at the Mets would have been, I think the number 1 seed is the Dodgers, let's say. The Mets would have been at the Dodgers anyway. And the 4 and 5 would have been knocked out by this point. So you would have had the Braves and the Padres knocked out. So for what it is, if you do that, you can start a division series on Wednesday. The next division series starts Thursday, and you're not waiting to Saturday for everybody to play again. It's still a little break, but it's not 5 days. Anyway, so all the Philly fans and players were so excited to have the break the way it is now, and then they ran into a buzzsaw called time and time off, and it made them cold, and they lost. And there's nothing more than heckling Philly fans who talked all this crap about how great their team is. First half of the season, they were the best record team. Congratulations. You don't win a gold medal then. You don't win a ring for having the best first half of the season winning record. You just don't have it. Phillies ran into the Mets. Mets are hot. The hotter team won. Done. Goodbye, Philly. Other side was a rivalry. Dodgers, Padres. We already went into how the Padres lost, how they couldn't score a run in the 24 last innings. That's a game and a half of no runs scored for the Padres. They got hits, but they had no runs, and you can't win a game when you put up 0. So they lose games 4 and 5. Padres are knocked out. The Dodgers are into the championship series, and now you have the Metropolitans at Dodgers for the first 2, and then you have the two other. It's actually a best of 7, so it goes 2-3-2. Mets will have 3 home games in the middle if necessary, and then back to LA if necessary for the last 2. I look at the 2 teams, and Mets are being called underdogs for some reason. I understand they're the 6th seed in all of this, but they have a higher payroll, or their opening day payroll was much higher than the Dodgers. Consider this. Going into the season, the Mets payroll was $306 million. Suck that in. That's the highest payroll in baseball going into the season. Second was the Yankees, who are also in. Third and fourth are out. 5 was the Dodgers. So you have 2 of the top 5 teams in the National League, payroll-wise, going at it. And Mets, being the away team, the 6th seed, are being called underdogs. By seed, they're underdogs. But by money, by talent, they are not underdogs. They just did not do anything last year or the year before with the core of this team. Now they gelled. They brought in pitching, which the Mets needed. They gave 1-year deals to Sean Manaea. They gave Kodai Zinga's healthy now. And then they gave Soriano, I believe his name. They gave him a contract. So the Mets now, Quintana also, they have pitching now. And starting pitching, as you saw by the Marlins' lack of wins, starting pitching means so much. And if you're going to compare these 2 teams just on paper, right? I'm not comparing what we've seen by the eye test. On paper, the Mets have better pitching going into this series. Because once you get through the guy who pitched yesterday, that they gave all that money to, Yokohama or whatever his name is. I'm sorry, I'm butchering that. He's highest $325 million pitcher. Clayton Kershaw's injured. You have Ferris Bueller, who had a bad division series. And I don't know any more pitchers that are in LA right now. So if you go by who they have, starting pitching wise, the Mets win there. Now you look at the lineups, right? And here's where the Dodgers do have the upper hand in the lineup. I mean, when you are the best player alive right now, the best player in baseball right now, arguably, right? Because you could say Judge is one of the best. Well, you have the best player in all of baseball leading off for the Dodgers, right? You have Freddie Freeman. You have Mookie Betts batting number 2. You have Will Smith at catcher. You have a defensive shortstop. I think Rojas is injured, but he's your best defensive shortstop. And Really, he had one of his best career years, batting around 294, I believe, this year. So you have Miguel Rojas in there, and you really have the best lineup. There's no arguing against it. Max Muncy. Yeah, from top to bottom, that Dodgers lineup is really scary. Okay. And even guys like Kiki Hernandez, who says they are winning because they don't give an F. Love that interview, by the way, with Ken Rosenthal yesterday. It's really funny. If you didn't see it, and I'll get back to this, the comparison in the post-game interview for the Dodgers when they beat the Padres. Ken is interviewing Kiki Hernandez, who hit a home run, really won the game because there were no runs scored by the Padres. He hit a home run in the game. And he gets asked by Ken, what makes you different? Why do you guys feel you could win? You've finally broken through winning a DS. What's making you go? Is it Shohei Ohtani? Is it what is it that makes you guys better? And he just goes, is the mic on? Is this live? And Rosenthal says, yes. And he goes, we don't give a F. Thank you. That was it. That's why they are better. That's why they are different, because the Dodgers don't give an F because they have a stacked lineup 1 through 9. Mets, on the other hand, Mets have a good lineup, right? Not great, but you have Francisco Lindor, you have Brandon Nimmo, you have Pete Alonso. These are not scrubs. You have Starling Marte. You have the guy who came up, Vientos. Then you have Iglesias. You have good players, above average, great. I don't want to call them great. They're good players who are getting paid a lot. So it's really the lineups on paper. I'm going to give it because of Shohei Ohtani being the best player in the league. I'm going to hand the roster, the lineup, even though they're semi-even. Mets are hot, remember. They're semi-even, but I'm going to give the Braves. I'm sorry. Why am I saying the Braves? Woo, Braves on the mind. I'm going to give the Dodgers the better lineup. So the Dodgers win this on lineup, on paper, and the Mets win on starting pitching on paper. Now we go to the bullpens, and the Mets bullpen has been good in the playoffs, right? They've held games close so the Mets can take the lead on late inning hits, right? They have wins in their pitching staff from relievers. And you know what? If Diaz can get his head straight, which he almost gave up the game to the Phillies, he walked a couple batters there, got people on, and Phillies, I think, scored a run in the top of the ninth. But you have Diaz, and you need that team to kind of play well. You need them to play their best. While the Dodgers, they also have a great bullpen. Flaherty. It's going to be close, right? I'm going to give the bullpen on paper to the Mets. So pitching overall, the Mets are better. The lineup, 1 through 9 on the Dodgers is stacked. There are a couple players on the Mets where you go, okay, maybe they'll get a hit. Jesse Winkler, maybe they'll get lucky. Taylor, etc. Maybe Marte will get a hit. He's not a spring chicken. He's 34, 35 years old at this point. Pete Alonso's been hot. He was cold. Dodgers have home field advantage. Mets have to win one of the first 2 games. Mets cannot go down 0-2 to this Dodger team and think they could win the series. It's just not going to happen. You have to go to Los Angeles, Mets. You have to go to Los Angeles. You have to steal home field advantage. In the 2-3-2 format, you have to go steal it. So go steal it, Mets. That's the only way you're winning that series if you get one, and you have the better pitching to do it. It's going to be a good series. I hope it goes 7. I hope both teams are so tired because, as I'll talk about, I want the Yankees to whoop the Guardians' butt. I really do. And don't forget, what you need to do right now is go to InTheClutch.com. InTheClutch.com, Major League Baseball Players Association approved T-shirts. You're not going to see the team names on them, but you're going to see the player experience. It's also the only spot to get authentic #LetsGetLouder T-shirts. Some of the proceeds from these T-shirts do go to the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. And at checkout, you use the code LMF, like Loud Miami fan, LMF at checkout for a discount on your entire purchase. Again, go get your Dodgers shirts. Go get your Milky Bet shirts. Go get your Shohei Ohtani shirts, your Pete Alonso shirts, your Jazz Chisholm Jr., Judge shirts. Go right now. Maybe get a Stanton shirt. InTheClutch.com, and at checkout, use code LMF for a discount. We appreciate it. InTheClutch.com, the first, only sponsor of #LetsGetLouder. They believe in me. I believe in them. So go help everyone out. InTheClutch.com. So we're going to move over to the American League Series, Championship Series now, where you have the Guardians who just knocked off the Tigers versus the New York Mets. By payroll now, the Mets have the second highest payroll in the majors, the first highest payroll in the American League. Remember, the New York Mets, on the other side, have the highest payroll in the majors totally. The Yankees are second. So you have the second highest payroll in the game, first in the American League. Yankees versus the 23rd overall payroll in the Guardians. The Guardians are a small market team in Cleveland. They have a great team put together. You've seen them do this multiple times over the last couple years, last 10 years. They've been to the playoffs 3 to 4 times. They've been to the American League Championship Series at least. This is their second time, as last time they lost in 7 games to the Chicago Cubs in the last time when they got out of the American League with the pennant. So you have the Indians together. And they just knocked off the Tigers. And I want to say to Tigers fans who may listen to this, keep your heads high. You have a good young team and a good nucleus of a young team that's cheap and that can stay together for multiple years and compete. They could be the favorites to win the division if they get hot from the beginning. See, the Tigers' problem this season is they got hot too late to win the division. But they got hot enough to steamroll through the playoffs, ran into a 5-game buzzsaw of the Guardians, who really smacked them around twice at home in their home ballpark. Home field advantage matters. Tigers could get it next year. Keep your heads high, Tiger fans. Tigers deserve a round of applause. They had competed. They did well. They got hot quick, and you got to give credit where credit's due. And that also goes to the Guardians, who Class A had a great game today. The Guardians really are a good team. Like, they're going to New York to face the Yankees, but Guardians aren't a slouch. That National League Central wasn't a slouch towards the end of the season. Guardians, of course, won it and just beat the Tigers. Good players on that team. No former Marlins on that team. I don't have anybody to talk about who's a former Marlin on that team. I like to point that out. But the Yankees do. So let's go to New York. And I'm picking New York to hopefully win the World Series. And to win the World Series, they have to go face the Guardians at home now. And they need to win the first 2 home games. And you know who needs to start hitting? Aaron Judge needs to get the F off this cold streak. Stop striking out. He has one of the worst overall record for the playoffs for the Yankees. Aaron Judge, wake the F up. You are supposed to be the MVP of your league. Wake the F up. Not saying on the other side, Ohtani had a great series versus the Padres, but at the same time, Aaron Judge needs to wake the F up. And so does Juan Soto. You know who was up in the American League Division Series for the Yankees? It was Giancarlo Stanton, former Marlins. Mike Stanton. He had a great third game. He basically won that series by winning game number 3 in Kansas City, Missouri. Mike Stanton, Giancarlo Stanton, a monster dong in that game. He stole bases in that game. He got hits when he needed to in that game and RBIs. You know who also needs to get a little hot right now? Get as hot as your mouth is? Jazz Chisholm Jr. Jazz is such a spark plug. He's so much fun to watch. And many will say that Jazz didn't do anything in that series. There's a lot of talk on social media. Oh, Jazz is overrated. He's just talking crap. It's so quickly how people forgot game 1. Jazz Chisholm Jr. stole. And if you're watching on YouTube, I'm doing the quotes because I thought it was safe. Many don't on replay. Jazz Chisholm Jr. stole second base, ended up being the winning run in game 1. In game 1. And then in game 2, the Yankees were getting shut out. It was 3-0. Top of the ninth, Jazz Chisholm Jr. hits a home run, makes it 3-1. Someone has to start the comeback. Jazz tried. He did his part. Of course, then he went to St. Louis, talked a little poop before he went, and the fans were all over him. I don't think he got a hit in the last 2 games. Couple walks, no hits. Just remember, it's a team effort. Giancarlo Stanton had a great game. Volpe had great defense. Teams win championships. And when people are cold, the others have to rise up. That was the problem with San Diego. Everyone went cold, and no one woke the team up. Stanton did his part. The New York Yankees are the best seed in the American League. They have home field advantage throughout the playoffs, and they will face the Guardians. So Jazz and John Birdie need to wake up. They need to do their part in this championship series because really, again, Guardians have great pitching. I think on paper, just like I did the other series where I went Mets Dodgers. Here's how I see this one, okay? Starting pitching wise, I'm going to give it to the Guardians. Lineup wise, and the Guardians have Ramirez, one of the best players in the league, third baseman, Jose Ramirez. The Yankees definitely have the better on paper lineup. I mean, look, 1 through 6, you're facing Judge, you're facing Soto, you're facing Stanton, you're facing Jazz, Volpe, whoever's leading off. 1 through 6, that team is stacked. 7, 8, 9, not bad either, whether it's John Birdie, whether it's the guy they got from the Red Sox over the offseason. That Yankee lineup's stacked. They just need a hit. If they hit, no one's beating them. They just score 10 to 15 runs a game if they all hit. If half of them hit, they'll get 3 to 5 runs a game. Will their pitching hold up will the bullpen pitching hold up in the middle of the games? If the starting pitcher comes out, can Clay Holmes hold a save? Or will someone else get the save? Yankees bullpen's just not that good. Great starting pitching-ish. Guardians win on pitching. Yankees win in the order, the lineups. I'm going to say Guardian has the better pitching overall bullpen, just like the Mets had the better pitching in the championship series in the National League. The bullpen and starting pitching in the American League goes to the Guardians over the Yankees. But Yankees can overcome it if they score runs. And to score runs, they got to get hot. Judge needs to do something. And we're all going to get jazzy with it. Y'all love jazz. Hashtag y'all love jazz. Hashtag getting jazzy with it. I love jazz. And I'm so happy for Jazz Chisholm Jr. I really am. Like, I don't just say that because he's a former Marlin. I say that because he's a good human. He's different. He's a personality. He doesn't go by the grain. He thinks differently, and he has an ego. Yes, the best do. Some don't show it. Jazz does. And you gotta love Jazz for it. So who am I picking to go to the World Series Who will make the World Series? Well, I'm picking the Yankees to get out of the American League. I don't know in how many games. I'm going to say 6 games, maybe. Yankees win win the championship, get to the World Series. Hopefully, win the World Series. Whoever they face. On the other side, Dodgers Mets. It's tough because Dodgers have such a sick 1 through 9 lineup that if the Mets go down, I don't even know if they have enough firepower, even with Alonso, Vientos, Iglesias, Marte. I don't know if Nemo, whatever, and and Lindor, of course, leading off. I don't know if the Mets go down, do they have enough firepower to come back? But I've said that, many have said that, and the Mets have come back versus the Braves in the doubleheader game 1. Versus Milwaukee twice, they came back and won. Of course, coming back from Philadelphia in game 4 to win. And I think game 3 they came back also. They just keep coming back. They're pesky and they don't stay down. But the Dodgers can always come back too. They have so much power in that lineup. This is tough. I don't know if I want a Subway Series. I think for the New York fans, I think it would be cool right now to have a Subway Series here, Yankees Mets. Again, I don't know if the Mets can do it. And I don't want to pick against them because I want to bet for them. Not that I'm cheering for them, but they're just pesky. They come back. Dodgers are going to make the World Series. It's going to be Dodgers Yankees. Because no one wants Dodgers Cleveland. No one wants Cleveland. No one being the Major League Baseball TV right owners. They don't want the Guardians there. They don't want the 23rd overall payroll. No, the money is in Shohei Ohtani making the World Series for the first time. Pete Alonso earning a contract with Francisco Lindor making a World Series for a Mets who's the underdog, even though they're not the underdog because they had the highest overall payroll coming into the season. They want that versus the Yankees. The Yankees are where the money is. So I'm saying the Yankees will get there, and I'm saying the Dodgers will get there. Not because Major League doesn't want a Subway Series. The Dodgers are the better team on paper. The Mets are playing like they are the best team in the league also. It's so tough, but Dodgers have home field advantage. So the Mets need to win one of the first 2 games to win the series. If they go down 0-2, they are not coming back. Can they go up 2-0? The Dodgers can come back from going down 0-2. The Mets can't in this series. They just can't. I'm sorry. They can't. And for that reason, in a 7-game series, I'm going to pick the Dodgers to win 4 of the 7 in 7 games. I think it goes the distance. I think that the Mets make it competitive. And I'm not saying the Mets can't win it, right? I won't be surprised. But if you're asking me to pick, the Dodgers, because of the home field advantage, wins. They just showed why in the division series, why home field advantage means the most. If that game 5 was in San Diego, I fully would have expected San Diego to win. Yankees have home field advantage. Yankees are the better team than the Guardians, and they need to show it. They need to get hot. I thank you for listening to this hashtag Let's Get Louder podcast. If you're listening on podcast, whether on Spotify or Apple or any other podcasting network I don't know about, but this podcast ends there, I have a YouTube channel, and you can see me do this. It's really fun to see my faces. It kind of adds to it, I think, to watch somebody talk instead of just hearing them talk. Not that I don't appreciate you listening. And if you are only going to listen, please hit that subscribe button. Please hit the rating button. Give me a 5 stars. If you're listening to this point, I believe I deserve 5 stars, right? 39 minutes of talking. So go on that Spotify, leave a comment on Apple. And if you really want to watch it, go to YouTube. Go to YouTube and search hashtag Let's Get Louder. You'll see my podcast come up. You'll see me recording these episodes. Subscribe there too. Comment, chat with me on social media at Loud Miami Fan. The podcast has its own Twitter LMF Podcast. I need to start promoting that more. So if you are listening or watching, go to Twitter, X, add at Loud Miami Fan, and then at LMF Podcast, Loud Miami Fan Podcast, LMF Podcast on X. There's an Instagram for Loud Miami Fan, a TikTok for Loud Miami Fan. I appreciate you much. Thank you for listening. This is Chase Blake at Loud Miami Fan. And don't forget, let's get louder together. Let's frickin' go.